And I'm live. Hello, welcome back. Welcome back, guys. This is going to be episode 2 of my 3-part series on the different styles of intuition, different styles of thinking and feeling. So, those are like the 3 main ways that we experience reality. So, because they each take on a different attitude, I want to describe this. So, just give me 1 second. I'll be So, basically, in the last video, I spoke about like the 2 different styles of intuition, and the intuition being a perceiving function, like a way that we learn information, and that being either introverted and extroverted, and how that affects different types based on which they prefer to use.
Do you have Rizla?
Yeah, I do have Rizla.
Sorry to interrupt your live stream.
Are you really sorry? How sorry are you?
Thank you.
Stoners. Anyway, so as I was saying, so in the last video, I was speaking about intuition specifically and how there are differences between how introverted intuitives experience reality versus guys. I can see you behind me on YouTube live.
Sweet.
I know weed is legal in South Africa, but like, come on. Maybe I've got anyway, this is supposed to be safe for kids. So anyway, as I was saying, in this video, I want to move on to talking about thinking. So yeah, like all the functions, all the three dichotomies, which is intuition, thinking, and feeling, they each take on either an introverted or extroverted attitude, and that makes the types that use these functions experience reality a little bit differently. So in this video, I want to talk about thinking and the 2 different styles of thinking. Thinking is a decision-making function, meaning it's a judging function. So it's going to be used differently, but depending on whether you prefer to use introverted thinking, which is TI, also known as TI, or extroverted thinking, which is TE. So just like I said in the last video, each of the 16 personality types uses their judging function, thinking or feeling, either in an introverted or extroverted style. So 8 of the 16 types will use TI or introverted thinking somewhere within their cognitive function stack. So their 4 top functions. And the other 8 will use extroverted thinking or TE in their top 4 cognitive functions. So since thinking is a judging function, as in like it's the way that we make decisions, the types that use a judging function as their dominant function will be a lot more decisive and less open to new ways of doing things, as compared to the perceivers, those would be the types that use sensing or intuition as their dominant function. So dominant perceivers prefer to first observe and learn as much as they can before making a decision, while dominant judges will usually prefer to have their decisions made and then seek out new information to support those decisions. Basically, let's talk about thinking then as a decision-making style. So the personality types who use thinking as their dominant cognitive function are the ISTP, the INTP, the ENTJ, and the ESTJ. So, so those are the types that you will use it as their dominant or first function, and that'll be either TE or TI. And these 4 types can then further be narrowed down into those who use introverted thinking versus those who use extroverted thinking. So the ISTPs and the INTPs use TI as their dominant cognitive function, while ENTJs and ESTJs use TE as their dominant function. So then what is introverted and extroverted thinking, and how are they different? So introverted thinking, TI. TI, as it's called for short, is the process of it's organizing our world Internally, it's an introverted function, so it's very subjective, and it's a way of organizing our world internally through logic and rational thought. TI users will form an internal framework of how the world works, and they constantly modify it to make room for improvements or new lessons that they've learned. So introverted thinkers want to create a vast web of knowledge and find ways in which everything is interrelated. They like to learn for the sake of learning. It is less about putting something out into the world and more about making an independent discovery or forming an inner blueprint for how the world works. TI users are skeptical of rules in the scientific method. And TI users tend to be quite independent when making when with their thought in particular. So some of the characteristics of TI, like the positive ones. Let's talk about some of the positive characteristics of TI. Logical and rational, efficient. TI is often also nicknamed by personality hacker as TI is nicknamed as accuracy because people are usually very good at being at really zoning, like really being accurate. They really tend to focus on being accurate. It's definitely important for them to be accurate. So people, the types who use introverted thinking will tend to like always correct people on spelling mistakes and stuff like that. That's TI users for you. They are good at building and constructing frameworks and systems. So because they organize their thoughts in such intricate ways and into such large systems of logic of if then, they are become very good at building these systems. So TI users are excellent at troubleshooting. They're analytical. They are good problem solvers. They will usually have a vast store of knowledge. TI users are very good at picking up inconsistencies and improving existing systems. They are open-minded and are objective thinkers. So, but the negative side of TI, some of the negative characteristics, um, is that TI users can often be stubborn. They can lack tactfulness and sensitivity. They tend to be very private. Because they're so independent as well, they can be hard to work with. They can be insulting and condescending to others, can be paranoid about others controlling them, and can start a lot of projects but not finish them. So if you're a TI user, watch out for those bad things there, those negative characteristics. So all like as we know, all types use thinking. I'm not saying that only these four types of the INTP and the ISTP. Those are just the ones that use it as their dominant cognitive function. So you can usually see these functions play out very blatantly in these types who use them as their dominant function. But every single type uses thinking somewhere, either introverted or extroverted in their stack. So some people like for myself, I'm an INFJ. I use introverted thinking. So I use introverted thinking as my tertiary or 3-year-old function. So it's not a dominant function, but I definitely use this process as a way of making decisions. So let's move on now to extroverted thinking, or TE. So extroverted thinking, sometimes nicknamed effectiveness, or it's also known as rationale. It is a process of understanding and organizing the external world through rational, logical thought as well. But TE users want everything to be in order, and they look sort of to the outside, and they are much quicker because the extrovert, like I said in the last video, all the extroverted functions are more quick to act, so and they act very well in the moment. So TE users will be very good at making decisions in the moment, and whereas introverted thinking users will need more time to form their opinions. So it's going to be load shedding in 5 minutes. So I guess I'm going to get cut off in the next 5 minutes. So I'm going to have to cut this one short. But I'm almost done anyway, so that's okay. So let me just explain extroverted thinking a little bit more. So extroverted thinking they are usually very good at planning, scheduling, and organizing like the outside environment. They are good at delegating to get a job done and organizing people. They are very like take charge people who can make great leaders, presidents, and entrepreneurs. So the characteristics of TE, the positive characteristics are that they're logical and rational, organized, good at scheduling, good at delegating, dedicated, direct and honest, efficient. I would say effective, productive, excellent at following through on projects, strong leadership skills, and hardworking. And then the little bit of a negative side towards them is that they can be tactless and harsh. They can be seen as a little bit too controlling, sometimes impatient, inflexible, judgmental, bossy, can lack emotional intelligence, can trample other people's needs in an effort to get things done, can be condescending to people who don't accept their views. So yeah, the extroverted thinking users are very good at making decisions in the moment, and whereas introverted thinking is definitely more reductive, and it's more about sort of having their own internal system of logic. So just to summarize this quickly, introverted thinking is more internally focused, while extroverted thinking is externally focused. Introverted thinking users seek consistency and logic in their internal framework to assist with solving problems, while extroverted thinkers seek logic and consistency in outside rules to help them solve problems. Introverted thinkers focus more on categorizing concepts and theories, while extroverted thinkers focus more on categorizing the outside world so they can effectively lead people. Introverted thinkers keep systems moving, while extroverted thinkers keep people moving. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. I'm going to cut off before I get cut off. And I hope this video was useful for you in some way. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you next time in my last video of this series, which will be about feeling, the different styles of feeling. Cheers.